Cass. There's a Shell gas station across the street. That was the first thing I noticed when I moved here because I arrived at dusk and the sign's S was burned out. As I approached the motel, the only thing I could see on the dusty horizon was the word hell lit up in orange and yellow, which seems appropriate once you get to know the area. I only saw the SAD hanging off the billboard by a hinge and swinging ominously as I got closer, and I wished to God that I took it as an omen and turned around. There are a few other landmarks on this desolate stretch of two-lane highway between the Sycamores apartments and the good side of town and Arby's, a motor inn, Larry's liquor store, some strip malls with hand-painted signs, and Teaser's Gentlemen's Club. I shuddered when I saw this dump that's now my home. It used to be a motel, and they didn't even change the name. It's 3 strips of 2-story building connected in a U-shape, with a dumpy pool in the middle. They renovated the motel rooms to be apartments, sort of. They are now slightly better than a shitty motel-style apartments with a couple bedrooms, but they didn't even change out the paisley carpet or burgundy drapes. I literally gasped when I first laid eyes on the semen-stained bedspread in my fully furnished oasis. Room 10. It used to be apartment 100, but one of the zeros is missing, and in its place is a gash that looks like someone once took a machete to it. But I don't ask questions. It's the smallest apartment and sits adjacent to the boiler room, so now I'm Cass from room 10. It's so pathetic the others don't even consider it an apartment. I'm used to it now. The shock wore off weeks ago, and here I still am, just after Christmas time, curled up in front of my window with a brandy Alexander, watching sleet tap the icy pool water's surface with a backdrop of Barry from number 206 trying to jump-start his pickup in the parking lot. I think I'll start to cry again, so I close the hideous drapes and sit in front of my laptop at the table. The tears don't come. Today is one of those numb days, as it turns out. I can't really predict what I'll get from day to day. Sometimes it's the impossibly sad version of myself who will sit for half a day scrolling through my ex's social media sites to torture myself with images of him and my replacement, Kimmy. What sort of grown woman calls herself Kimmy? Sometimes the diazepam works, and I feel the emptiness of it all in a different way, the pain presents as a dull ache around the edges, but I can function, put one foot in front of the other, offer a thin smile when I pass people, sometimes even a nod hello, so I appear relatively normal. Whichever version of myself shows up from day to day, I don't forget for a second that Kimmy is living in my 4-bedroom house in Santa Fe, and I'm in this dumpster fire of an apartment complex outside town, with nothing. It all unfolded too fast for me to explain why I'm even here. I was being kicked out. I wasn't just being cheated on and left, but was actually displaced from my home with nowhere to go. So in my desperation, and after scrolling through dozens of cheap short-term apartment ads that someone with no job can't afford, I answered a want ad for this place because they needed someone to do the apartment cleaning and light repairs in exchange for free rent. In my old life, you couldn't pay me to stay here for one night. But that life is so far away, it's like it never happened, like leftover wisps of a dream you try to hold on to and remember when you wake up, but they float through your fingers. When I saw the ad, I took it, because what choice did I really have? A red flag, my dad said. A man who doesn't believe in marriage, but will live with ya and playhouse. Reddest of all the ready red flags, Cass. I argued it was noble because Reed thinks marriage is a sexist construct, and we don't need a piece of paper to prove our love. My dad sprayed his sip of beer out through his nose on that one, and he was right about it all. I have no protection now. I didn't work the last few years because that was how we both liked it. I was able to volunteer and cook my way through Julia Child's cookbook like someone in a movie. He liked the way it looked, that he was a bigwig realtor who could support us both, and he liked his crepe Suzette and quiche Lorraine ready to eat when he got home. It worked. There is nothing wrong with that, I told myself. And then it stopped working. And I have no job or money, and although I think I had every right to punch him in the back of the head, when I discovered them at a restaurant together, discovered he was cheating with my own eyes, I made it worse because there were no late-night crying arguments or discussions about how we'd get through this, no sobbing apologies or denials on his part, begging me to stay and telling me it didn't mean anything. Just an eviction and a cold shoulder. After 6 years together, it was over just like that. I usually have to sit with my head between my knees for a minute to avoid hyperventilating when I think about this too long, but today is a numb day, so I don't have the energy to look at Kimmy's Instagram. Well, okay, I peek at it for just a few minutes to see if there is anything new. The numbness turns into a tapping up my spine that feels something like rage when I see her in her white puffer coat and ice skates laced up, standing next to my person. My Reed, not hers. How is this possible? They're holding two candy canes together, making the shape of a heart. Gag. They're smiling at the camera, rosy-cheeked and glittery-eyed. She looks more like his daughter than his new lover. Okay, I'm being an asshole. I'm sure she's at least legal because Reed is very informed on legal matters of all sorts, which is why he was so prepared to screw me out of everything, and even write up an official eviction letter from his house with 30 days' notice when I refused to leave. Fun times at Deer Head Lodge, the caption reads. I vibrate with fury, but before I can do anything, like maybe drive to the lodge like a psychopath and push Kimmy from a ski lift and watch her plummet to her death. Maybe get impaled by a candy cane if I'm lucky my phone buzzes. It's a tenant, Mary Hiddleman from 109, and I have to take the call and fix whatever problem she has this time, because as much as it pains me to say, I need the job. Where else can I go? I quickly run over all my options in my mind, the way I often do, and always come to the same conclusion. I lost touch with my actual friends years ago when I met Reed, and they're married with families for the most part. They don't want some loser on their couch. My father's a drunk who rents a room in his buddy Oscar's basement, and our mutual friends sided with Reed. He was expert at making me look like this was all my fault, from the crumbling of our relationship to the restaurant assault. So, I'm here now. I'm somehow the caretaker of the Sycamore apartments, and I'm trapped. Mary calls for me to come in when I knock. Her apartment is mostly dark, lit only by a droopy string of Christmas lights loosely draped around the front window and flickering light from the television. The shopping network is selling adult onesies that look like giant, creepy gingerbread people. Mary's in slipper socks and a threadbare housecoat that, in her braless state, leaves little to the imagination. She sits in her rocker recliner with her legs spread open, chatting to the TV about the economy and the ridiculous prices they're charging for adult pajamas. I see London, I see France, mare, I say matter-of-factly, and she closes her legs and gives me a dismissive wave of her hand. A cigarette hangs from her lips, and she points in the direction of the tiny kitchen. I saw him under the sink, but I don't know where he got off to. Little fucker. I notice a small pistol sitting right out in the open on her table that's cluttered with ashtrays and junk mail. What's that for? I ask. Well, I was going to try to shoot it, but I thought I'd call you first. See if you got any of those traps that snap their heads off. Or poison, I guess. But I poured some antifreeze on a clump of peanut butter last time I saw a rat, and it didn't do nothing. She leaps up and starts bending down in search of one. You can't shoot a gun in your apartment. Well, goddamn it, the building keeps getting fucking rats. What if it gets in my bed? My grandson's coming to visit. I can't have rats in the beds. She steadies herself on the counter dramatically at the very thought. The owners have to do something. I peer around at the open cans of Hormel chili tinted with a bluish mold, macaroni and cheese left in a pan on the stove that looks like it's congealed into an orange brick, and oil-stained pizza boxes scattered around on end tables and overflowing out of the trash can. I've never seen a rat in my unit, but I don't say that. All I can do is put down a live trap. Not the kind that snap their heads off, I tell her, and she shrugs. Then I see the smoke alarm on the kitchen wall has been pulled off and is dangling by a couple of wires. I point at it and give her a questioning look. She pushes the butt of her cigarette into a Sprite can. Kept going off, she says. In the short time I've been here, I can already see that Mary's troubles are more in the loneliness department than the rat infestation department. Maybe a little of both, to be fair, so when she finds out I'm staying for a bit to lay traps and fix the smoke detector, she beams and offers me a plate of cookies that look like Santa hats with marshmallow trims and puts the kettle on for tea. It's a funny thing, loneliness. It's something I'm only learning about recently, the might of it, the things it makes one do. It's dusk now. "I'll be home for Christmas" hums from behind the door of Unit 106 as I walk back to my empty studio apartment across the lot. The sleet has turned to a soft snowfall, and my body aches with a grief I can't articulate. Before I open the door to my apartment, I see the light on in the small rental office next to my unit. It's where I give poor new SAP's rental agreements to sign and where most of the paint and cleaning supplies are stored. Besides the owner, I'm supposed to be the only one with a key, so I must have left it on or left it unlocked. When I push open the door, a man is there. I leap back with a frightened yelp, but then I see that he stumbles and falls against the wall and then laughs. "There's my kitty," he says. "I was looking for you. Meow." The guy is so drunk I can smell him from the doorway, and he clearly has no idea where he is. "You can't be in here. Get lost." "Aw, Kitty isn't nice anymore. Your hair's different too," he says and grabs me, pressing all of his weight against me. I try to pull away, but he kisses me, holding the back of my head with both his hands and sticking his tongue in my mouth before I can even react. I scream and try to push him, but he's huge, a head taller than me with a thick neck and a beer belly that spills over the waist of his oily jeans. He starts to shove a hand down the front of my pants, but he loses his footing. I sidestep him, and he falls to the ground in a hard thump. "The strip club's across the street, dude. I think you got lost. Out. Seriously." I kick the bottom of his boot with my shoe. "Show me them titties again, kitty cat. Titty cat." He laughs hysterically at his attempt at a joke, and then silence. "Really?" I yell and kick his boot again. He's out cold. Son of a bitch. I think of how badly I want to crawl under my heating blanket with the rest of my brandy and not have to call the cops and stand in this freezing office explaining it all to them before they haul him off to detox or whatever they do these days. Maybe I just leave him. But the file cabinet and tenant records. I can't have some crazy have access to everyone's credit card info and unit numbers and all the spare keys if he wakes up, and it turns out he's a total creeper. I sit on the office chair and blow out a hard breath, thinking through my options. And then I notice the wedding band on his finger and feel the tips of my ears go hot and my heart speed up. He's married. This married guy is out trying to get laid during the holidays. I think about his wife. Is she home with their kid, playing chutes and ladders at the coffee table with Home Alone on in the background? Are they eating popcorn balls and peanut brittle? Is the floor still littered with wrapping paper from the day before? Is she looking at her phone every 10 minutes wondering when he'll be back from a holiday party at the Mad Hatter to join them, the one that she was supposed to be at with him until the sitter canceled, never knowing he was actually with the sitter at a Holiday Inn instead? Maybe she threw a Miller Lite at his head and told him to get out of her face and go to the strip club for all she cared, like you see on an episode of Cops. But it doesn't matter because either way he's a cheater, and I want to punish him with all my might. He shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. I don't know what makes me think to do what I do. First, I take out his wallet and look at his ID. John Bradwick, 47, lives on Ashbury Court across town. A few small photos are tucked inside. A big-haired blonde woman with round cheeks is all gums as she smiles at the camera with a scowling toddler on her lap. And this man, John, posed behind them like a sort of weird glamour shots photo. On the back in faded ink it says John, Peggy, and Levy 2011. A phone number is actually written in pen inside the leather of the wallet. I could call it, but it would probably ring to the cell phone in his pocket, so there's no point. There's $87 in cash. I take it. Then, I don't know, I just do it. I dig through the drawer for a tube of lipstick I've seen rolling round in there, not mine, but whatever, and dab the hot red hue onto my lips. I take off my top, but I keep my bra on because I'm not a pervert, and I lay down next to the giant on the floor. I leave lip marks on his cheek and swing my leg around him and take a few selfies of us. I roll his head my way, and it heavily falls into my neck, looking like he could be kissing me, and I snap another. Then I go next door to my apartment, drag over my heating blanket, and curl up in the office chair. I look up Peggy Bradwick, and after I find enough of what I'm looking for to set my plan in motion, I watch Netflix on my phone until the idiot wakes up. At 5:13 a.m., John sits up with the terrified look of a man who has no idea where he is. I calmly explain that he was hammered and must have stumbled over to the Sycamores from the bars across the street. He blinks at me, then holds his head a minute before standing. You just let me sleep here?" "Yep," I say. "You should have probably called the cops. Probably." "Well, thanks, I do charge a fee, though," I say. "I'm sorry," he says, feeling for his phone and wallet, which I did place back in his pockets. "Yeah, I thought it would be terrible if you ended up in jail, or I let you wander off and get a Dewey, or if your wife found out you were with some chick named Kitty." "Hey, whoa. What? How do you? Peggy would want to know where you've been. I'm sure she's worried sick. Your phone's dead, by the way, but she probably called all night." "Wah, who are you? Seriously, how do you know my wife?" "Listen, John, I had some time to look Peggy up. She's a nurse. Good work, nursing. And you live on Ashbury Court, and Levy's what, 11 or 12 now? I'm sure she doesn't want to see this," I say, and even as I show him my phone, displaying the photos I took of us with my lacy green bra and his lipstick-smeared cheek on my shoulder, I feel a wave of nausea for what I'm doing and have to remind myself he's just like Reed. He deserves this. His eyes go wet and glossy, and I can see him swallow. "We? What did we?" "Oh, God, no. Really, stud. You think you fall on my office floor in a drunken heap, and I have sex with you? Is that how it usually goes for ya?" "No, I just took these for insurance," I say, and barely recognize the forced confidence in my voice. "What? What does that mean?" "It ensures that if you give me what I need, I don't ruin your life. I hate to do it. I really actually do, but you're a cheater, so." "What do you want?" he says as spit flies from the corner of his mouth, red blotches beginning to dot his face. $1,000. "Yeah, dollars. I thought about a figure, and that seems reasonable." "What makes you? Are you insane? What makes you think I have that kind of money to give you?" He's moving toward the door, but I see the hesitation, the knowing that he's stuck. "You're a plumber. They make good money. A nurse, too. Not bad. I'm sure you can spare it." His mouth opens and then closes. "Next time, you'll think of Peggy before screwing strippers named Kitty." Only assuming they're the stripper part, but the name is telling. A name says a lot. "What is the matter with you? You did all this for. You did this faux. I know you're confused and probably have a wicked hangover, but I have Pegs's email from her Facebook site. Can I call her Pegs? Looks like people do. You should tell her she shouldn't have her info public like that. She looks nice, like the kind of person who would trust people, but still, not a good quality these days. If you bring cash by the end of today and slip it under the office door, not loose cash, right? That would be silly. In an envelope or something, then I don't send her the photos, and you go back to your delightful bungalow with Pegs and little Levy." John's face is pale as the moon now. It seems to change color with every new revelation, and he feels for the doorknob behind him to leave. "What if you send it to her anyway? How do I know you won't?" he says in an almost whisper. "You don't know me, John, but I'm not an asshole." I'd have no reason to do that if you do what I'm asking. I hate to even do this to you at all, but I was left with nothing. I almost say, but don't say. I need the money. That's it. Nothing personal. And you did a shitty thing, so. If you send this photo out, people might see it like anyone people you know, your family. I could show it around here for revenge, or I don't know. You're not safe in this either. You would look just as bad screwing a stranger. It could ruin. John, look around. Does it look like I have anything left to lose? After a few silent moments, he gives what might be interpreted as a tiny nod, and then walks out into the icy morning air, and across the street to whatever bar or club his car is at, I assume. I'm shaking. My hands are trembling. I can't believe what I just did. I don't even know who I am right now. 3 hours later, I'm in my apartment eating canned ravioli and trying to get the satellite TV channels to come in when I see a Ford truck pull up on the side of the building. A large man in a hooded raincoat pushes something under the door of the office. My heart leaps. When the truck is far enough down the street, I push my feet into slippers and run next door. I let myself into the office and grab a manila envelope from the floor. Back in the warmth of my apartment, I sit on the detested plaid sofa and spread the crisp cash machine bills out on the coffee table. $1,000. Oh my God, I can't believe it worked. I never would have sent those photos. He could have called my bluff. He also could have not taken it as relatively well as he did and attacked me instead, or worse. I can't do something like this again. I must have been out of my mind last night. I promise myself that I won't do something like this again. I wish more than anything that I kept that. Anna. 7 months later. A steamy July rain sizzles and pops off the hot pavement of the gas, Ngo parking lot, and I know something bad is coming. It's his silence that rattles me, the tremble in his voice when we spoke this morning. Why won't he answer my calls? A bearded trucker in a Pabst t-shirt places his Dr. Pepper on the counter, and I tap my foot impatiently as the cashier says they're turning over shifts and he has to wait for the night guy to come in and switch registers. He nods outside, where a young man in a mullet, who must be the night guy, takes his time getting inside. I watch him flick the butt of his Winston Light behind the polar ice chest and eat the slimy end of a Slim Jim while he sits on a propane tank under the store awning and scrolls on his phone. Are you kidding me? I mutter, but the trucker doesn't make a fuss. He just lays a couple bucks in change on the counter, adjusts his ball cap and covers his face with one arm as he rushes back to his rig. I check my phone. It's 7 minutes after 5, so I assume Slim Jim Guy is officially late, and I don't have time for this. I put down the gas station wine and Henry's favorite powdered mini donuts and sprint to my car. I turn on the ignition. The pounding of the rain on the metal roof is deafening. I feel tears spring to my eyes, and I don't know why. I just know something's happened. It's not like him to miss my calls. Ever. Certainly not all day. I punch the call icon under Henry's name on my phone. It rings through. Shit. I speed through glossy 2-lane roads toward our house. I know things haven't been good lately. He lost his teaching job. I'm between journalism jobs, but we're fine. It's a rocky patch is all. We're not broke. We have prospects. He has more time for his own art. We're spending more evenings together, dinners, right? It'll be fine. I go over the pep talk in my head, so it's ready when I find him. When I get there, I take the stairs 2 at a time and fling open the door, rain-soaked and breathless, and nothing. I don't know what I expected. An empty wine bottle is still on the coffee table, and last night's curry sits in greasy takeout boxes on top of the trash. And it's so quiet the tick of the wall clock is startling. I try to think of any reason Henry would not be picking up the phone. There could be a dozen reasons. It died, he lost it, he has it on silent by accident. Sometimes when he's painting, he'll put it on silent, and I get that. But it was the way he sounded before I left for work this morning. It wasn't the same as his usual depression. I've come to grow used to these last few months. It was a hollow sound and emptiness when he spoke. And it's not that he said anything alarming, just goodbye, see you tonight, but something about it rattled me. I check every room, and then I decide he must be at the Sycamores. Over a year ago, his friend suggested he rent one of the shitty apartments there that was sitting empty forever so he could use it as a painting studio, as we quickly ran out of room at our place for his work. He pays next to nothing for it and has spent most of his time there since he was laid off. I tell myself that has to be it. He took advantage of the rainy day, put headphones on, and is lost in a painting. My gut feeling is just paranoia. Before I can grab an umbrella out of the closet and run back out the door to set off to the Sycamores, my phone rings. "Henry," I say, breathless, anger meeting desperate relief. But he doesn't say hello. I just hear the hiss of falling rain through the phone and then sobbing. "Oh my God, honey, what the hell? What's wrong?" I've known Henry since we were in college and heard him cry maybe 3 times in over 15 years. I can't imagine what's happened. There is silence on the other end again. "What is it?" "I've been trying to call all day. What's happened?" "Anna," he whimpers, and then hiccuped cries stop him from speaking. "I can't do it anymore." "What? What does that mean? Do what?" "I've ruined everything. I messed up." "Henry, where are you? I'm gonna come and get you, and we can talk about it. It'll be okay. Just tell me where you are." "I'm so sorry. I love you, you know that. I did something, Anna. I need to tell the truth now. I fucked up our whole lives, and I'm so sorry, but I just can't. I can't do it anymore." "No, you didn't. We can figure out whatever this is, okay?" I try to use a calm voice, but I'm so confused. This is coming out of nowhere, and I'm afraid he'll hurt himself that the last few months were worse than I ever knew, and he was this bad off. "Babe, please. It's gonna be okay. I did something unforgivable," he sobs. "Whatever it is." "No." He stops me. "You don't understand." The saddest, most desperate cries I've ever heard escape his lips, and my heart breaks. I sit on the edge of the couch and run a hand through my hair, trying to quickly figure out what I'm supposed to do, how to help. "I killed someone," he says. "I did. It was me." And then I hear a deafening bang, and the line goes dead. Anna. The body of 36-year-old local artist and teacher, Henry Samuel Hartley, was found in shallow water on a bank of the Rio Grande, just south of the Santa Fe city limits early this morning. Authorities are ruling it a suicide. The papers told the world only hours after I found out, and before most of his family were informed. The photo next to the story is the one he uses for all his professional sites and business cards, his sandy blonde hair hanging ever so slightly over one eye, his smile meeting his blue eyes and beaming at the camera in his shirt and tie that look out of place on his body. Maybe because I've only seen him in formal attire a handful of times in my life. He's usually in paint-stained jeans and vintage t-shirts, the Smiths. Tears for Fears, that's more his style. They should have chosen one of the photos that showed who he really was. The shock hasn't subsided. In the 2 weeks since his death, the funeral has come and gone, the life we shared together snatched out of thin air. My things are packed in boxes, and the house is going on the market next week because I can't stand the emptiness and the memory of him haunting every room. I can't be here without him. So now here I am, at the Sycamores. I feel close to him in a different way in this eerie place because his work is here. Some boxes of belongings and all the hours of his life he spent inside these walls are all I physically have left of him now. And maybe there will be clues inside these boxes, or on his computer, or even in his paintings, something to help me understand what was happening to him. I need to know. Why was he so desperately sad over the last months? Who the hell does he think he killed? That can't possibly be true, but something made him take his life. I never told the police or his family that part. I mean, of course I told them. He called, crying and saying he's messed up and was so sorry and hysterical. They needed to know what preceded the suicide, his fragile state, but the "I killed someone" part? No, because it can't be true. I pull a suitcase across the concrete between the parking lot and the external stairs up to Henry's studio. My new home. I pass the pool where a few women sit at a white plastic table, playing Go Fish and drinking 7-Eleven jumbo Slurpees. I notice the brunette because her excess girth spills through the shell-shaped cutouts in back of the plastic chairs. She's yelling at a kid floating in the pool with water wings and a dinosaur squirt gun. I struggle with the broken wheel as I tug my bag past them. "You got a 7, Rosa?" "I saw it," one of the women hollers. "Go Fish, Jackie." The other one, Rosa, I guess, giggles. "Don't tell me you ain't got no fucking 7. I saw that shit." Jackie stands to snatch Rosa's card, but the plastic chair is stuck to her backside, so she sits back down. Jackie pulls the chair off her butt and stands and lights a cigarette with a scowl. "Whatever." "This is why no one plays with you, Jackie," the unnamed third woman says. "You play Monty, lady?" one of the voices asks, and then I realize they're talking to me. "What?" "We ain't playing Monte Crystal. We're playing Go Fish. Plus, she ain't gonna answer you." "Chick looks beat up," the other says. I don't know who's who anymore. "You okay, Chick?" "Ooh," I start to reply, but they've forgotten about me and continue arguing among themselves. So I gratefully continue on and heft my bag up the stairs, one at a time, until someone appears behind me. I begin to apologize in a daze, a knee-jerk reaction to being in the way, and I try to shift to the side to let them by, but I realize it's a face I recognize. "Sorry," I say, masking my surprise as he picks up my lopsided suitcase. "Can I help you with this?" "Oh. I mean, if either of us are getting up the stairs," he says with a half smirk, and I think I offer a semblance of a smile back. But I'm so numb every day that it's hard for me to really be sure if my face matches my intentions anymore. The man is Carson, maybe. No, Callum. Something. He's the guy who told Henry about the apartment here. I only met him once at a school play. They teach at the same place. Well, they did. And I met him and his wife at intermission. They were putting on West Side Story, and Henry and I were at the concession stand eating bake sale blondies and wishing they sold stiff drinks instead to get us through the second half. Callum and his wife came up. I feel bad I don't recall her name, but she looked so thin I instantly judged her. And on the way home in the car, I joked to Henry about needing to bug Callum for her diet plan. He told me she was terminal. I don't even remember the kind of cancer, a bone cancer, I think. But I do remember that I felt like the shittiest person on earth. So her beautiful, frail face and thinning chestnut hair and tiny frame is etched in my memory forever. He told me Callum and his wife only lived in this shithole because they didn't have medical insurance and the bills destroyed them. I guess he was only part-time at the high school, and she had to stop working, and the debt buried them. She finally passed a few months ago, according to Henry. When I look at Callum, I feel the weight of his grief mirroring my own, right back at me, and it's hard not to look away and run from this additional reminder of pain. The realization happens in a moment when I meet his eyes. We both lost everything we care about, and life has dumped us here like a further punishment. He has the case at the top of the stairs before I snap out of my catatonic moment and say anything at all. I climb the rest of the concrete stairs and nod at him. "Thank you," I quietly say, and I pretend not to remember who he is before slipping safely behind the door of 203. Inside the apartment, the stagnant air steals my breath. I try to turn on the air conditioning unit in the window, but it just makes a rattling noise and putters out. I open the windows and stand a moment, taking in the room. Dust particles dance in the slanted beams of light peeking in from the open curtains. Many of his easels look like ghosts, covered with drop cloths in the still space. The small kitchen is mostly unused except for a scattering of mugs and a few IPA bottles. The bed is covered in stacks of empty stretched canvases and coffee cans stuffed with used brushes. It looks more like a painter's studio than an apartment. I don't want to move anything. I want to keep it all the way he left it, but I'll need to at least carefully clear the bed. I move a box of oil paints to the floor and sit, and then the tears come. I am doubled over in a pain I didn't know was possible. I sob uncontrollably until my ribs ache. Henry. Why? I curl up in the fetal position, and I replay all the arguments over the last months. All of the bickering that was an obvious facade for the weighted issues behind it. After years of agreeing we never wanted kids, one day after he'd been laid off, he sprung on me that he changed his mind, and he'd been wanting to tell me for a long time. I told him it was a midlife crisis, and it would pass, and he was being ridiculous. We wanted to travel the world and drink great wine and read the New York Times together from our high-rise condo's balcony in the city on Sunday mornings and follow our big dreams, but we never made enough money to do any of that. Fine. Fair, but we don't just go back on everything we ever said ever wanted all of a sudden. That was when he started changing, 6 months back. But I thought he was having a moment thinking we gave up a life that was still in our grasp because the one we were chasing our whole lives was feeling pretty out of reach now. We officially failed, but kids were still possible. A little cottage outside the city could happen if we wanted it, he said. But I didn't want it. I still wanted to move to a Costa Rican beach or Ibiza and not be a slave to a 9-to-5 or kids like we always said we'd do. God, why didn't I just say yes? Yes, baby. Whatever you want. Anything you want. I'd give anything to go back and say yes. I see the sun reflect off a white triangle near the front door, and I sit up and look at it. I didn't notice it when I came in. It's an envelope. I could have stepped over it, or maybe someone shoved it under the door since I've been inside. I walk over and pick it up. I turn it over to see my name on the front. Anna Hartley. I think maybe it's from the rental office. Some general info, a bill, something like that. But when I open it, my hand flies to my mouth and I drop it. The scrap of paper feathers gently to the floor, and I look down and see the 2-word note looking back up at me. Get out.